Good morning, folks. Welcome to the Post Morning Show. I'm your host, rdizzle408, with my co-host, ML. The date is Friday, July 5th, 2025. Our topics for the day. 1. Hillary on horse tranquilizers. Obama ordered a report redo. What's that about? 2. Trump's tough tariff tactics are getting results. So says Faisal Islam of the BBC. Topic number 3, Powell's second building, third building. What was that whole press conference about? Okay, so diving into topic number 1, there's more revelations from the Matt Taibbi interview with Megyn Kelly. Is Trump going on the offensive? That link's in the description. I'm going to play a clip from our fave, Emma Jo Johnson, right, from Newsweek, part of the group chat. Okay, I'm paraphrasing what she said. Obama directed the CIA to create fake evidence based on bogus news headlines to then pursue the disruption of President Trump's first term. Before I play that clip, a couple clarifying points. Okay, clarification point number 1, Hilary Clinton should have been fired or impeached for running a private server out of her basement, violating all sorts of basic security standards. There is a related Awan Brothers IT scandal as it relates to the Democrats that we will save for a future episode. Clarification point number 2, Russia apparently hacked the DNC servers and ascertained Hillary was on these horse tranquilizers. Among the most startling revelations were that Clinton, then the Democratic presidential nominee, was allegedly consuming heavy tranquilizers daily and experiencing significant psychological challenges. That's from the first post. This is the video that would explain that. So I just want to pull this one up for folks. Okay, I don't know if you guys remember this. All right, I know it's a little blast in the past. And everything. Dan Tarantine, I'm sure, would definitely enjoy this. Okay, so I don't know if you guys remember this. Oops, I got to do it one more time for the sound. Okay.
How much with Senator Warren? Did you talk about vice presidential possibilities with Senator Warren?
You guys have got to try the cold chai.
Yes, we all got to try that cold chai. Very good chai. Okay. So point number 3 then. The claim is that the Russian government.
Question, and it comes from Carl.
Sorry about that. The claim then is that the Russian government was anticipating a Hillary Clinton victory and would have used her drug addiction for exploitation purposes. Okay, the presidential's daily brief drafted on December 8, 2016 stated that no Russian or criminal actors impacted vote counts. This document was pulled hours before it was to be published due to new guidance. If it had been published, it would have been briefed to both President Obama and President-elect Donald Trump. That's from the DNI document, okay? So my take is Obama's reaping the fruits of his CIA training working for the Business International Corporation. Now, I don't want to leave you guys hanging. We're going to just hear from Emma Jo, and then we're going to get into it, okay? Emma Jo Johnson, I hope she's everyone's favorite. She's one of mine.
Between, like, inviting...
Oh, hang tight, guys. A lot of windows here.
But I feel like, how is there no distinction between, like, inviting influencers on Twitter to the White House and giving them a binder that was empty LOL, to the chief of the CIA going to the New York Times and the Washington Post after the president had ordered basically like a redo of a report because he didn't like the response that he got about that was in the report, ordered a redo that very day. The chief of the CIA goes to the Washington Post and the New York Times, the two obviously premier news outlets in the country, if not just because they control politics and the national conversation, goes to those outlets and injects a narrative that is obviously an intelligence operation into the cultural bloodstream. And it's the same as like office politics, like jabs, like people shitting on their boss. Not the same at all.
Okay, and let me close this so it doesn't repeat on us. All right, folks. So is there anything with this, what what her Emma Jo is talking about, right? She's drawing a contrast between Tulsi and Pam Bondi's. She's saying, look, this isn't just a stunt. There's something more to this. Anyone with any thoughts on Emma Jo? Going once. Going twice. We have comments.
I mean, I think it's interesting, but it's like kind of old news. Like, it's really not that important unless something's done about it. Are people going to go to jail? Is there going to be a real investigation? Like, I see Andre's going crazy in the chat. But yeah, I kind of agree. Like, unless something serious happens, like there's no point even talking about this thing. You know what I mean?
Is okay, and Daryl, on that, right? It seems that is that just where the difference is in the media? Because when Trump sneezed, it was like impeach him, right? I know this isn't an impeachment.
Oh yeah, well, of course. I mean, the media was complicit in this whole thing, but are they going to be held responsible? I mean, who's being held responsible? And it's just Tulsi. What she did is release a lot of evidence that just backs up what a lot of us already knew. But like, yeah, I'm not gonna get excited about it until I see like there's actual like prosecutions of some of these people. Then I'll get excited. But even then, I'll be like, oh, are they really gonna put these people behind bars? I'm just skeptical of the whole thing. That anything's gonna happen. It's almost like a crime that they're going to get away with. What they did, this intelligence op, and they're going, unless there's prosecutions, they're going to get away with it.
And when you say what people already knew, if you had to, cousin or some younger person, like, what is this all about? What would be your quickie?
Well, when I say people who already knew, people who people like us who've like followed this thing, and yeah, it's not, I talked about this before. I still know people who think Russia like hacked voting booths and changed votes. Okay. You can't change their opinion. Like, I don't know how we're going to change anybody's, but yeah, if there's prosecutions, like I said, but until that happens, I'm not getting excited at all about it.
You're not getting out of your seat for this one.
Hell no. No, it's just more of the same, If I just see Jim Jordan go up there with no necktie and give a long speech about how they're going to do this and they're going to do that, and then he does nothing again, I'm just going to blow my brains out.
Thanks for that, Daryl. Shamsul, you're waving in the camera.
I think I have a sneaky gut feeling that they're going to throw Brennan under the bus. I think that's where they're going. That's my gut feeling. They're going to go. Yeah, they're going to go after the three of them. But I have a gut feeling that the guy who's going to get crucified is Brennan. I'm not sure how they're going to do it, but the way the whole story has played out, it seems to me like they're setting it for an investigation. And I mean, all these guys, Comey, Brennan, and Klepper, they testified before Congress, right? On the Russia collusion thing, that Russia was supposed to actually rig the election or were favoring Trump. And that went on for, I believe, that also went on with the hearings for impeachment of Trump. So I think they're not going to let it go. I think Tulsi has went through it with Trump and probably JD and I mean the rest of the cabinet. I think they're going for it. I have a gut feeling that the guy they're going to crucify is Brennan.
Thank you for that, Shamsul. Claudio from Italy.
Yeah, like Daryl said, I don't think we found anything new regarding this. Just the fact that, as last time, Russia tried to, how we say in Italian, take a hit on the ring and a hit on the barrel, which means he helped both Hillary in some way and Trump in some way. At the same time, if someone remembers, there was Putin that one day was telling it would be nice to work with Kamala Harris, and another day it would be nice to work again with President Trump. I think we didn't find anything new, and probably to make a joke about it, the only person that will go in jail will be the server that has been put privately somewhere. We'll find this server on a jail waiting the death penalty. No one will take really the fault, and probably, as Vincent say, also Brennan will take a limo on some island and nobody will find him where it is anymore.
Thank you, Claudio. It'll be like the movie Office Space. They'll get out those servers and bash them. That'll be the justice. Alan, how are you doing there? What's your thoughts?
Well, I'm doing okay. I was just gonna say, I'm quite offended that Hillary Clinton was allowed to take horse tranquilizers and wouldn't let me have ivermectin during the pandemic because it was a horse dewormer. So I'm a little upset about that.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that, Alan. Duke?
Yeah, I gave my opinion on politicians earlier about stepping over dead babies to steal nickels. But when I hear this, all of this conspiracy, I hear Charlie Brown's teacher. Wah 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 wah. We've been listening to it for the last 16 years, and ain't nobody gone to jail. And I don't believe there'll be any prosecutions. It's just shiny red balls to make us chase things.
Thank you for that.
You know, Duke, a lot of people went to jail for January 6th.
I stand corrected, Santo. You're right. The average American who was speaking his mind did go to jail.
Yeah, I'm following a J6 grandma on Twitter. I'll try to pull up her account later, but interesting thoughts from her. Andre?
Yeah, I'll just repeat what I've been saying since the Tulsi press conference, is that she has consistently, over the last decade, made sure to counter any narratives that say Russia or any of our enemies are doing anything bad. And so she is putting out here not so much a defense about President Trump, because nothing, like we all said, nobody's going to be prosecuted here. This will likely get laughed out of court. You know, if you believe Andrew McCarthy or other commentators on Fox News who don't see anything that she put out as being anything concrete. She, you know, there are volumes of Senate reports, of congressional reports, of intelligence reports documenting this stuff, and then she brings out, well, there was a draft plan of a meeting we were going to have once, and that should completely counteract everything else that you see in these reports. So again, Americans are nobody's going to get prosecuted for this, but in the official record, she will try to clean up the image of Russia and say that Russia was not attacking us. That, as Daryl said, maybe Russia didn't hack us, even though many intelligence reports clearly document the hacking of.
I thought they hacked the DNC servers. That's what they did hack. Hacking
the servers to release information before.
There's no proof of that. There's like allegations of that this some hacker in Eastern Europe or something. Like, there's no hard proof of that.
No, the entire intelligence community, which is 17 agencies, concur that Russia hacked into the DNC.
Right. They weren't able to hack the RNC servers. So then that was more in the weeds. But then I guess the question, Andre, is why didn't Russia release that information about Hillary Clinton prior to the election? That would have been the move, right? If they truly wanted a tanker campaign. That, look, you have, because the videos came out of her shaking her head, but it was just really good coffee, apparently. That
again, the crime is that they hacked and to try to influence our election. This is put out in the intelligence report, the Senate Intelligence Committee report, that was unanimous in terms of its bipartisan support, that everybody agreed on this. What Tulsi is doing is trying to put in narratives to say, well, maybe, because they didn't release the information, maybe Russia isn't too bad. That is the end goal of Tulsi Gabbard. It has nothing to do with, as we all agree, nobody's going to prison here. Nobody's going to be prosecuted here. There's not even going to be a fall guy, Sam. So that it's, Brennan, to think that somebody's going to be prosecuted here for what? I mean, it was a draft.
Treason.
It was a draft of
Treason.
Of what?
Treason. He's going for the high charge.
Treason.
Yeah, they said it. So let's see. I'm on a wait and see situation, to be honest. I mean, I'm not making a definite thing. I said I got a gut that this is where they're going for.
You believe that
what the hell
is going to be prosecuted for treason, a crime that you would put somebody to death?
Well, Andre, and then I guess we'll okay. Haley just has decided to enter the ring here. Haley.
So I also just want to add to Andre, because while I think he has a point with, for some reason, Tulsi has a fixation on Russia. I don't understand why. I don't think she's a Russian agent, but I don't understand her fixation on trying to disprove Russia all the time. But I also think that Tulsi, again, I'm going to say this, I know people have heard it before, but she is trying to get back into good graces with the president after her screw up with Iran. That's my personal theory, that this has something to do with her trying to gain her position back, not wanting to be in, let's say, the same position as Pam Bondi or Pete Hegseth or something. So I think that this is a mix of a lot of things. And I totally agree with Andre. There is no way anyone is being tried for treason it's just not ever going to happen. It is a death penalty charge. You put, it's, one of the most serious charges, and for something so frivolous where you can't even, where we're even arguing if this is concrete proof or anything, there's no way treason is on the table. They might throw somebody under the bus if it, comes to anything concrete. That might be true, but again, nothing is concrete yet. Nothing is tapes of Obama ordering, agents to, make up documents. I think this is just a really bad turn for all of us to go down.
Okay, thank you, Haley. Duke, with the last comments on this, and then we'll move to the next topic.
Yeah, this question is for Andre. What would be her angle? Why would she do that?
I have no idea, but I mean, it's the only thing that comes out of this, because again, I don't think anybody's going to get prosecuted or anything, but in the end, she, because of her position, she's going to put a government statement out and probably prepare a formal report. This was just a release of information. Probably prepare a formal report that people can then cite and say, well, yeah, there was the intelligence community assessment in 2017. There was the Mueller report, both sides. There was the Senate Intelligence Committee report. All of that done. But Tulsi Gabbard and DNI, they produce a report, and that will be cited ad nauseum on different Fox News reports and other ones to say, well, there are both sides to this issue. And I really don't find anything that she released to be both sides in anything, because everything I mentioned before, the ICA, the Intelligence Community Assessment, the Mueller report, everything was a years long, multiple levels of people doing research.
Right.
Any of them, including the Intelligence Community Assessment, had nothing to do with the Steele dossier, because they were specifically ordered not to use that in any way for the Intelligence Community Assessment. So there's a lot of hand waving to do stuff, but in the end, because nobody's going to be prosecuted, nobody else, there will be a government report saying, you know what, maybe Russia didn't do what all those other reports said they will, and then that will be something that people can refer to. I don't know what for. I'm not saying, again, I agree with Haley. She's not a paid agent, but she's somebody who has aligns with what Russia's goals are. So Russia or other people can be like, here's some stuff. Why don't you see if this is something up to your liking, and see that they use voices, and she was a voice. She was a contributor on Russian outlets. She was somebody who made sure to point out their position on Syria, which was contrary to the United States position. And that's something that her fellow members of Congress had an issue at the time. So I don't know why she does it. And I don't know why. And I agree with everybody that or if everybody is in agreement that no prosecutions will come out of this. But in the end, the only concrete thing that will happen from this report is there will be a government document stating that maybe Russia didn't really do bad stuff to us.
Okay, thank you guys for that.
Yeah, thanks.
And you know, this is slightly related, right? As we close this out, that okay, when Hillary Clinton had her own at hillaryclinton.com email servers, like the password was literally password. Okay, I mean, it was that bad. So in terms of hacking, and hacking's wrong, and yes, we should go into others' emails. I agree with all that, right? But I don't know what government out there wouldn't point their dark forces at all these countries and say, "Hey, try hacking stuff. See what you can get for us." It's not great, but this is the world we're in. And the last point also is, if you wanted to take Hillary Clinton down before the election, why wouldn't you have dumped all that information that she's on drugs? She's a drug addict. I mean, that's wild. So with that, okay, I'm going to try to pull up our script here and into topic number 2, which is Faisal Islam, the economics editor of the BBC. Let's see what he wrote about tariffs, okay? Japan now has the best deal, or rather the least worst deal of all the nations, with major trade surpluses with the US. The general tariff of 15% to be charged on Japanese goods being imported to the US is higher than the UK's 10%, but the UK has no surplus. The deal comes on the day the Japanese host EU leaders in Tokyo. There had been some chatter about Japan, the EU, and Canada coordinating their retaliation. This stops any such initiative. Last quote, tariffs are now raising significant sums for the US Treasury without retaliation against US exporters. At over $100 billion so far this year, about 5% of US federal revenue is coming from tariffs versus 2%, which is, I guess, the typical. Sounds like winning to me. And did Bhatia say it, that the car makers will absorb the tariff costs out of their $15 billion in profit? I believe $2 billion is what they will be paying in tariffs costs. Claudio, with your hand up, sir.
Yeah, I think that I'm also seeing that he's doing a similar deal with the US, South Korea. Of course, being smaller than Japan, the dollars invested will be just $100 billion. But what I see now is that the Wall Street Journal was saying that Japan and the European Union would have been the most difficult to trade with. I don't know, maybe it's because Shigeru Ishiba is risking his majority on the Sanjin in the other chamber of the Japan parliament, but he tried to have a political winning before to do the new government, I think. That is what helped Trump to have this deal with Japan. And at the same time, I think that the European Union soon will do the same. And there could be the possibility that European Union could have the 10%, because most of the stuff that is making damage to the US companies is making damage also to European companies. Let's be honest, the GDPR regulations, the artificial intelligence regulation, all that stuff is also destroying European industries. There are German companies, French companies, and other companies that they don't want their regulation, but because some French farmers, German socialists, and some people want to have some money from that, they are asking to have this money. It's just a rent extraction. Let's be honest, it's not something to defend the AI from himself. Regarding the non-tariff barriers, I think now it's improbable, because in the European Parliament, the center-right is not still so strong. And there are still people like the Identity and Democracy people and the socialists that will say, no, Italy first, French first. Let's try to have our own artificial intelligence, despite not having the amount of capital and the right risk capital to do that. So for now, non-tariff barriers will be improbable to remove.
Thank you, Claudio. Andre is about to give us a reality check, I feel.
No, the reality check is there is no deal yet, because, I mean, this is going to be a deal that needs to be approved by the parliament in Japan. So no deal exists right now, other than the proposed set of numbers that haven't been confirmed by Japan at this point. And I mean, the biggest question mark for people is the clause that was put out in the laid out by Howard Lutnick that the president will have sole discretion about where this $500+ billion is invested in the United States. I don't think we've had a previous trade deal with another country where the president dictates where money is invested. Normally, we have a requirement for some kind of investment, or that's offered by a trading partner to invest in the United States, but the president doesn't say, well, I want it in this state, in this location. And this is all, I mean, we don't include that in our deals because that's like an earmark. That's something that's ripe for abuse. So I'd like to see some congressional investigation of that down the road.
Thank you, Andre. ML? Oh, muted, sir.
Hit the button, dummy. I was gonna say CapEx is up 16.5% in the first half of 2025. You have business equipment production spiking in Q1. I'm sure that was probably lead times for the tariffs, maybe. I don't know. An 11% in quarter two. And that's like the best run. These data points are kind of lost in time. That's the best run since Clinton's second term. You add that on to the momentum. I think that there's some real things. This isn't even talking about the $200 billion for the AI and cloud infrastructure, which is coming because that's growing and it's going to only grow. That number is probably going to double, if not triple, in a couple years. Assuming AI continues on its path of taking it down. Now that's going to hurt, white collar workers, but all that manufacturing that is helping the blue collar, the worker. So it's just where's the connective tissue between all this economic activity and the one big beautiful bill? If they can do that to make a good case for the midterms, that's going to be the next, and that I suspect we'll see those points all tie together and be weaved together in or not weaved, but laced up together in the fall. That's what I mean. The fall is like when they're going to start the regulatory chainsaw, so to speak, on other parts. So I'm looking forward to seeing that, and hopefully it'll be enough. Trailing things here. This whatever the hell this press conference thing is with the treason, whatever we're doing with that, I don't know. If there's a grand jury, great. I'll like everybody else here. I'll kind of resign myself to like we'll see it when we see it. But going back to the thing, it would be nice to look forward and not backward. But it is what it is. Like there might be a method to the madness.
Thank you for that, ML. And with an eye to the midterms, that's really where it all counts, right? In the end of the day, if you can't get the ball in the hoop, what was the point? Claudio.
Yeah, I forgot also to say another thing that, to be honest, seeing in which sectors Japan will invest, 9 to American to 1 to Japan is a weird proportion to share the investments, to be honest, because they can gain a trillions with investments on the new generation sectors. In reality, they don't need to have this guarantee to have the 90% of shares of the gain to these sectors, because it's not like they will gain from 500 just 1 trillion or just 950 billion. They will gain much more because the multiplicator will be higher. And also another thing is that with the companies that will arrive now, they should not risk US to do the Nippon Steel treatment. First, because it's not something related per force to security, the fact of the steel. And also because it's better to have, how can I say, democracy AI way to do stuff versus the Chinese, Russian way to do AI stuff. And so it's better to keep that, not the European will have their own AI, UK will have his own AI, and US will have his own AI, in my opinion, or Japan will have his own AI made by SoftBank. And we will see. To be honest, I can see that also Japan can gain on it for some reason, especially because they have to invest a lot of technology, having the demographic problem. this is one of the way in which they can do it, to do this stuff. I hope it will not. They will not risk a bubble like in the 80s, but it's improbable. They are not investing in real estate.
Thank you for that, Claudio. And to close out this topic, the gentleman from Massachusetts, I don't know if he has any thoughts on tariffs and all this talk.
All right. Well, I guess so. First of all, when I believe that General Motors was being complimented as being patriotic about absorbing the costs, 2-3 billion, something like that, of the tariffs on its imported car parts. Is that correct? Okay, now I have to look off screen to see you. Maybe I better move this over.
San Jose Mercury reported that as well, that they were not raising the car prices.
All right. Well, that's marketing. But what I would expect is not patriotism. Okay, so I would expect the suppliers, foreign suppliers, to also eat that as well in order to stay competitive with other countries. So I wouldn't expect all that money to be eaten by General Motors. But if General Motors does eat it, well, then that's less profit for the shareholders and that sort of thing. Oh, I'm over time. Okay.
No. Andre is agreeing with your statement.
No, he was pointing to the timer.
Yeah,
oh, okay.
We're all squares in a
profit and loss. Bring it, Frank.
Yeah, all right. So I mean, this money that General Motors doesn't get is not being distributed to shareholders, not being invested in the company, and that kind of thing. So, but it does go to the Treasury, which is good. But still, it's a tax. But anyway, I think in order to change the trade barriers, and especially the non-tariff trade barriers, I think this is all you can do, isn't it? I mean, okay. So we and they are going to be paying for it. I expect them to be paying more because the suppliers reducing their margins and that sort of thing. And I'm surprised that General Motors forecasts that they're going to eat the entire thing, and they probably are not, because they're going to negotiate their prices down. So anyway, so there's that aspect of it. I mean, I have more things to say, but I just wanted to throw that out.
Okay, Frank, great. Thank you for that. Andre.
Yeah, I think we mentioned a little bit yesterday. I remember talking to Shamsul about we were talking about the tariffs, and I pointed out that Deutsche Bank put out a report yesterday or 2 days ago where they were surveying exporters and importers, and that they only found, of all the over 100 that they surveyed, they only found 2 exporters that were contributing somewhat to the tariffs. But on the overall, it was importers who were paying the tariffs, which is the tax that everybody, all the traditional conservatives were saying was going to happen, which is a tax on Americans, because those prices will eventually come down. We're not going to see them ASAP, but as Frank pointed out, you're gonna have a loss on corporate books. At some point somebody pays for this, and at some point that payment is reported on companies' profit and losses. So if somebody's paying more for parts, if somebody's getting less because they have to lower prices, that is all reported on a quarterly basis, but especially in the year-end report. And I think only by the end of the year will we have a fair assessment of what these tariffs have brought in terms of how much Americans are paying for this and how much other countries are paying for it. Because right now, exporters on the whole aren't paying for this.
Well, that's now, but I think you have to give it a good period of time.
100%.
6 months, 9 months. These other foreign companies who are doing this stuff have to see what happens. What other bonuses they can give to the buyers to continue to buy their product, for example. Which would be cheaper than lowering their price. So there's all kinds of things that have to play out, and it's going to take some time.
Okay,
agreed.
Shamsul?
Yeah, okay. To Andre's point, I have to be honest in that I don't have much respect for theoretical economists in banks. I'm sorry. It's my own personal opinion. Don't give much to shit about what they say or their research. But what I do is actually, I'll just give you a specific example: the 15% tariff on Japanese manufacturers of automobiles. If they don't, if they don't swallow it, they'll have to compete with other people that are importing into, like the Koreans that are exporting into the US. And not just that, I think the American cars are going to be much cheaper. So at the end of the day, the reality is, if I know my American business people that I know, I think they will be pretty lousy of them if they don't know how to negotiate this whole thing with the leverage that they have. That's all I would say on that. As far as the profit and the profitability or the profit margin of these corporations on Wall Street, right? I'm in the asset class, right? I mean, being in the asset class, let's put it this way: the CEOs of these corporations are making, are taking payments and bonuses based on their share valuations, right? Not on their performance. I think they need to be taken down a peg so that actually the blue collar people in America that are actually making money, not the bloody asshole CEOs that are running these corporations. So that's my thought on that, you know.
Thank you for that, Sham. So, Claudio, to close us out on this topic.
Yeah, I agree with what Shamsul said. There are also people forget that, like in the McKinley period, forget people if I say about it, but we should remember that during McKinley, what was giving problem to the economy was not the tariff per se, but the fact that there was not enough immigration, the regulation that allowed the economy to be wealthy. And the paradox that happened is that when the economy during the tariff period has been wealthy, Mr. Kinley was being constrained to do something for the surplus aid, so they have been constrained to invest all that money and remove the tariffs to let people come, or to let this money to go on the west in other places. If you have tariffs, you cannot do that. Regarding what Shamsul say, I agree, because they are ignoring how much it will cost less, the tariff, than to not regulate where there is this tariff. But if Trump continues the deregulation on the energy sector, the deregulation on the other sectors, while there is this tariff, there could be some offset. And this is some that also some of the theoretical economists know, but they are ignoring because they know, but the tariff will always be more hard than all this deregulation. That's not true. Because if they accept the internal effects, what is after external effects will be annulled in part, because is federal debt that is mostly internal, is deregulation that is at the state and local level that should be done, is also all the reform that is related with unionization and stuff that we are trying to zombie back. Maybe we should talk about zombie unionism rather than zombie Michaelism, as National Review saying. Also, many people, they are finally understood that now if they take a degree, it will be worthless. It's better to become a welder, a manufacturer, start to make ships, and start to make hard stuff with their hands than taking some economy things. I mean, you can take that degree, but you have to have the humility to say, hey, now, I gained this degree in economics, but I have to work on a McDonald's if my country says that. I have to work as a plumber if my country says that. I can open a motor engine officing if I can do that. Nobody can be a corporate with a blue collar. Elections will say if some people like that are not able to take that share, give some of their shares to the blue people, it probably will be better, because it will be more people will have a complementary pension, a complementary retirement scheme through the shares lose by these stupid CEO that are not able to use them. Let's be honest.
Thank you, Claudio. Yes, and I'll close out the topic just by saying that in high school, bring back shop class. You know, at least being able to change oil from a car, right? I don't think that's an outrageous, or, oh, that's going to be outdone by AI. Okay, I think cars, the engines need oil. The oil needs to be changed. It'd be nice to know how to do that and not feel like an idiot when it comes to that check engine light. So anyways, that's on, excuse me, that discussion. Moving on to our final topic, topic 3, Trump and Fed Chair Powell. Did anybody watch the trip Trump made with Powell at his side? Felt like Trump was scolding a petulant child, to use the description. My question is, I thought it was the 2 point whatever billion for asbestos removal, and then now we found out there's another building in the works here. What's going on with Powell? What are people thinking about this? Andre, I knew your hand was coming up. I felt it.
This is all I've been chatting with Jim in the chat for the last 2 days. I don't understand. I mean, I understand the narrative you put out in the press that the Fed is wasting money. The Fed is an independent agency. It's completely self-funded. When we have surpluses like we did from 2018 to 22, when the Fed has surpluses of income derived from its securities, that goes back into the Treasury. When the rates go up, like they had to spike in 2022 through now, the Fed doesn't make a surplus. We are not, as taxpayers, responsible for paying them anything. The Fed is back to having a surplus as of this year. It's projected to start this year, and is projected to have a surplus between 25 and 2034 at the latest, with gains outpacing what it did in the previous 10 years. The Fed is not wasting tax money. The Fed has planned for a renovation of its facilities. If you do a capital planning like that, even if they had to do an emergency rate spike, they can essentially print their own money and do what is needed to make sure that the taxpayers will never have to bail out the Fed. So Trump is trying to make hay about this renovation of a building that he has no input into. The taxpayers have no input into it. It's an independent agency that funds itself. So there's nothing that we're saving or that doesn't need to be done. And then the worst thing is that President Trump showed that he can't read an asset sheet when he pointed out the 3.1 billion, because Powell is like, that's a building that was finished 5 years ago. We're just reporting all the buildings in the complex. That building was finished 5 years ago and has been depreciated on their reports for the last 5 years. That is not a building that we're paying for, that anybody's paying for, but that is listed as an asset. So again, it's stupefying for this real estate man to go around and try to have a winning line to try to, get one over on Powell when he's basically unable to read an asset sheet for a corporate real estate allotment. I don't understand how Mark thought this was a win for the president.
Okay,
unless anybody else does.
Claudio, with your hand up.
Yeah, in this I agree with Henry. I don't think it's what is important now, to be honest, regarding the Federal Reserve on the stuff of how many buildings the Federal Reserve has. Also because, as Henry himself says, it's not an asset in the real sense. An asset is something you buy because it has a return on investment when you do. A building doesn't have that, except if it's a nice museum of natural history, is a railway station or is an airport station, to be honest. The real thing now that should be discussed with Jerome now would be how should it be the interest rate. But remember when Raul, I had that debate with Johnson and don't remember, Jenny from Oklahoma regarding the policy. And I checked now, in reality, there shouldn't be now the need for diminishing, augmenting the interest rate. In reality, they should have kept just with the regulation and the entitlement reform. And my fear is that there could be a risk of, how can I say, that if they diminish the interest rate, we could enter in a bubble. And while we have a so-called tariff war with people, I would not do that to make happy, let's be paradoxical, Californians and New Yorkers that want to invest public money on other assets that will be depreciated on future, to be honest. I would prefer that he will keep Powell doing his job like he said, and instead focus on deregulation and entitlement reform as he's doing. And to try to see how some states that mostly are blue states, except Alaska, with Mr. Murkowski, which I hate so much. People now know on the show these want to spend welfare money in a very weird way for Alaskan shamans. I would check on that to keep interest rate floating is also a good, how can I say, return on investment on US in general.
Thank you, Claudio. Shamsul?
Yeah, quick one. I mean, I'm not really that well versed with how the Fed made their money, except for what I understand is their trading of the Treasury bills, and the surplus is returned back to the Treasury, which means that whoever is managing the Fed still basically is making money from an instrument that actually then its surplus goes back to the American people. So the American people has every right to also ask the question whether that surplus should be more than what it is. What actually struck me about that whole is not the 3 billion. Actually, just the 2.5 billion, I believe, is what the renovation costs. Am I right, Rahul?
Yeah.
It's 2.5 billion?
Yeah.
Andre?
Yeah.
Right. You know, it's stupefying for me because what? I can build the Burj Khalifa for 1.5 billion. You know, what kind of renovations are they doing? So, I mean, this to me is about wastage, about that actually, if it actually could have just been done for renovation for, let's say, 500 million, that 1 billion surplus goes back to Treasury. So that's more actually what struck me when I saw the numbers. It was like, what the hell are you doing?
Can I point out how much?
Go ahead,
The
please.
last time there was a surplus was 2022. Do you know how much money came back to the Treasury?
No, I don't.
$58 billion.
So
that is the norm. When we raised rates, we have a deficit now, and it's supposed to go back to surplus this week. So Trump is trying to argue about a $2.5 or $3.1 billion when the norm is that we're getting close to $60 billion from the Fed on an annual basis. I don't understand why would you argue about 2.5 billion, 3 when this independent agency is funding you regularly while trying to keep the economy on track and not devalue the dollar. Why are we arguing about 2.5 when we're talking about 60 billion is what you would normally get?
No, I'm going on the basis that even a dollar wastefully spent is a dollar of taxpayer or American people's money.
Taxpayer money. It's not taxpayer money.
They are trading on an instrument that actually is funding also the government, right? So they are making money off that. Whilst it doesn't look so direct, but the fact that at the end of the day, the surplus goes back to Treasury. So if there ought to have been $1 million more surplus than what but was misused or wasted, it's $1 million more that should be questioned. That's all I'm making the point on.
How about questioning this indirect cost? Their reconstruction costs go up because of the cost of steel and aluminum going up, as well as Canadian lumber. Is that an indirect cost that we're supposed to question as well?
Why not? If that is the case, I want to know, because I, for one, can't believe the number that they're coming up with 2.5 billion. I said, what kind of renovation are you doing when I can build 2 Burj Khalifa for that? That's all.
Not in Washington on a federal building, because you're talking about their planning having to do with an enormous amount of regulation in terms of security, in terms of the kind of strengthened walls they need to do. I mean, this is the problem with government building. That it's the regulations.
Sometimes it kind of I guess reflects the whole issue. And I did fact check. Yes, Burj Khalifa was built for $1.5 billion. So that kind of blows my mind that asbestos removal is what it is. Claudio?
Raul,
it makes no sense to me.
I agree, Shamsul. Infatti, I'm saying my unpopular opinion. If we have the problem that not so many workers go in the federal government buildings are ready to work, why we have to build a second and a third building if we have still to fill the other ones? To be honest, I will use that surplus to call some guys on Yale, Princeton, and University to study and create a study committee on this Federal Reserve. It's ages we don't have human capital to manage these things. It's not like in the William Buckley period that you take a telephone book to call these people and have people able to work on Federal Reserve or in other places. To be honest, we can give back to the American Enterprise Institute is building back, to be honest. If we have all this problem, maybe we'll have a better surplus. Let's give this money to the think tanks to fill these offices. It will be useful then to have a third building for the Federal Reserve to do what? We will put money, we will put servers. I mean, if they will put servers to ameliorate the provision, the system in which they calculate the interest rates, it would be great, but we don't know anything. They are doing renovation, as you say, Andrew, but they have federal regulation, they have the DC regulation, they have, as you say, the steel and aluminum. I would reinvest that money for real on that, on human capital. I don't think we have tariffs on human capital. At least Trump has an idea to do that. But it's better to reinvest it on that. Or in field buildings with entities which are not non-governmental, it could be more useful. I don't know where he has still a building, Heritage Foundation, where he does his studies. I mean, we have plenty of places and stuff to do with that all empty places, and we will use that $15 billion with that. Or also, like Shamsul was talking about Burj Khalifa and these places, to let people are come in US doing financial studies and political studies, rather make them become the human resources in some Dubai or in some United Emirates office, because that could be the risk. The Chinese and Arabs will say, hey, you don't find a job with your degree in America, you can come from us. And then you became a spy asset, let's be honest, for the Arabs or for the Chinese. Sorry, I've been too much longer, Raul, I'm sorry.
It's all good, Claudio. Peter?
Hi. I may cut out, my internet is being weird this morning, but do we have any other topics that were listed? Or because I don't honestly feel like well-researched enough to comment on this one way or another.
Comment on whatever you like. It's free flow Fridays, off-topic Fridays officially now.
Shamsul, I have a question for you because I don't know about this, and I think that you might, even though what's going on with Thailand and Cambodia? Like, what's going on there? Do you know? Like, what's the deal with that?
It's a border dispute.
But like, why now? Have they had border disputes in the past?
Well, they are, but they've always been skirmishes. I mean, once in a blue moon. But I didn't really look at it because, to be honest with you, these things flare up once in a while, and I haven't been paying attention because that's pretty weird, to be honest with you, Peter. It's not the kind of thing that, Thais are not known for actually being belligerent, and neither is Cambodians, to be honest.
Well, you have to fight in order to have great makeup sex, right?
Well, the Thai have their own problem in the south with bordering Malaysia, because they've got a Muslim population there that is sort of like they're parts that want to be autonomous. So we had to deal with that as well with the Thais. So other than that, actually, this is a bit weird, to be honest. I have not really researched it at all, Peter. I'm sorry.
Oh, no worries.
Because it's just weird, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I can explain a bit. In reality, the dispute comes from the period of the French colonization. And before, it was not a big problem because there were in both the places military governments. And so one military government was not trying to oppose to the other. Instead, now in Thailand, they have some so-called political imbalance because there has been the so-called Shinawatra scandal, which is related with the women prime minister that has been there. And in reality, there has been a lot of scandals because of these, in Italy, we call the poppy people, papaveri, that are rich, television owners, this kind of stuff. And it was going all well. And there has been this scandal that Miss Prime Minister Shinawatra had a weird relation with a political representative of Cambodia. regarding some stuff, and that created a big scandal. So now the Thai government is really on an unbalanced position. And it could be that Cambodia or Thailand, they profited of this moment to settle this dispute, in my opinion. That's my scare. Because we have to remember that
Are you
Thailand...
saying, Claudio, hold on a second. Can I ask you a question? Because you think that the scandal in Thailand is used as this situation is used as a distraction from the corruption allegations in Bangkok?
No, it's a way for the military parties to try to gain power from the democratic part. Is that what I mean?
You mean in Thailand?
Because do you remember in Thailand before there has been all of these civil government, there was military parties empowerment with the assent of the king. There could be that the military is using this occasion to regain back power of this Cambodia dispute. Will say, hey, our neighboring states are against us. We have to have a strong government. Let's put the military back. Is that my scare, in my opinion?
So basically, you're saying that it's something like a false flag by the military to take over the government in Bangkok?
Because they want to profit of the Shinawatra scandal to let the military parties win back again.
Because they were in power, right, until a couple of years ago.
And then they arrived at the Shinawatra. Is that the thing?
Right.
The Shinawatra,
and they're like a political dynasty kind of in their own, because like, is she the daughter or something of the
daughter,
like a former
yes. It was
prime
like
minister,
It's like the Gandhi in India in some way, but the Shinawatra, at least they gain money for real. The Gandhi it's all about they were in the Raj, but they gained power. They didn't have power from private entities or having degrees. I don't know if Gandhi had a degree, to be honest, despite studying in England. Be clear.
Claudio, this is funny because here I am sitting there and over this side, and I'm going, that's a new conspiracy theory I haven't heard yet.
No, but I'm joking. It's not because, but what I say is that Gandhi gained power from the fact that they were political dynasty, not from the fact that they gained power before and then becoming a political dynasty. Is that what I'm saying simply? But in my opinion,
I don't know. I can't argue with you. You may be right. I have no idea because this is so weird, to be honest with you. It's weird.
My worst scare is that they profiting of the Shinawatra scandal to start a conflict and let the military parties go back in parliament. Because this time, Shamsul, they can do that through elections simply. They will not have the problem we take the power through military or through coup d'etat. They could do that in a democratic way, like, I'm sorry to quote Star Wars, but like the Empire. They will do, let's do motion, number, blah, 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 and we will have the military back in power with the assent of the electorate. That's my scare, to be honest.
Okay, all right. Well, interesting insights on Cambodia and Thailand. I didn't expect that. That's going to bring us towards to the end of our show. Please hang out with us post live. I think we'll discuss our favorite Hulk Hogan moves or Ozzy Osbourne songs or, the Cosby stuff as well. So hang tight for our updated outro. Let me see if I can pull it up here, the correct one. And here we go.
Hey, it's Rahul Stunt Double. That's a wrap. Join us tomorrow and kickstart your morning with us. Head over to postmorningshow.com and join us on the Post Morning Show Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 7 to 8 a.m. Pacific, 9 to 10 a.m. Central, 10 to 11 a.m. Eastern. Don't miss out. Join the conversation live at postmorningshow.com. See you there. Set your alarms, grab your coffee, and join the fun. Postmorningshow.com. See you bright and early.